I'm Logan Webb, and you're listening to TortureCast.
You're listening to a podcast by and for fans of the three-time world champion, San Francisco Giants. With hosts Chad King and Eric Nathanson. This is TortureCast.
It's Monday, September 12th, 2022, and this is episode 263 of the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. I'm your host, Chad King, and joining me today is Eric Nathanson. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing wonderful. I don't know if you noticed, but this past weekend, football started, and I know we're a baseball podcast, and we'll step away, and I promise this isn't Raiders related, but yesterday, the San Francisco 49ers started their season against my Chicago Bears, and against all expectations, literally everybody expected the Niners to just run the Bears out of the building. Justin Fields made some plays. The Bears defense held when they needed to. Trey Lance was not as good as Trey Lance could have been, and the Bears beat the Niners. And it's just so wonderful to finally do a show one time after the Bears were in a better position than the Niners. So it's kind of nice. And I can say I'm one of like 5 people in the world who went 2-0 yesterday between the Bears and the Giants winning in Chicago. Both the teams I wanted to win won. Everybody in San Francisco split. Everybody in Chicago split. But I got the good side on both of them. So I'm doing great. You know,
we did not talk about this pre-show, and I came in with that introduction very clinical and sterile because I had a weird feeling you were going to bring it up. You've had a good day today. You had a good day yesterday. Yep. I figured you were going to bring it up. I know. We didn't talk about a pre-show. This is a Giants podcast, so we'll keep the football talk to a minimum. It is, for listeners out there, Eric, was basically raised in Chicago, but his dad was a Giants fan, so obviously that's where that comes from. But
Bears are the Bears, man.
Bears are the Bears, right? I'm just going to say that the Bears definitely beat the Niners. But I will say the Niners beat themselves. They were controlling that game for 40 minutes. Not a huge lead, obviously, 10-point lead. And they just decided, third and whatever, 15-yard penalty. Third and whatever, 15-yard penalty. Third and whatever, 15-yard penalty. It was just, they just gave away those penalties at the most crucial time, man. It was really hard. Obviously, Elijah Mitchell went down early. He's going to be out for a couple of months now. Trey Lance, look, I've never been sold on this kid. He's 22 years old. I don't expect him to come out, especially in those conditions. He's got the nerves. It's a road game. It's, first game of the year. I understand all that, but he didn't play very well at all. And then Kyle Shanahan, to be honest, he had a pretty good game plan in the first half, and it just went out the window the second half. I don't know. It disappeared.
Agree.
It disappeared. So I mean, yeah, congrats to the Bears, but I will say they just didn't make as many mistakes as the 49ers. I think it was like, who wanted to lose the game? Who wanted to lose it? But it is what it is.
It's a good sign for the Bears going forward. It's a great way to start a new era under a new coach. It really put a win under a team that went to the NFC Championship game last year. It's all smiles for Bears fans right now. The rain was fun. It made for great pictures. So from the winning side of things, that was wonderful. But football will kick in full swing in a little bit. I had to do a little gloating about my Chicago Bears, the Bears beating the 49ers.
Well,
I hated the Niners. I've said it here. I've hated the Niners since '88.
It's a very odd thing.
When the Bears had a really great team, and then Joe Montana and the Niners came into Chicago on a cold day and won the NFC Championship game, and it just stung. And then they beat Cincinnati. But it always stung. So I've always hated the Niners. So those kind of wins are sweet. So it's nice to get it done during. So it was a great double dip yesterday. I'm so happy that the Giants won too.
That would have been fun to be a fan if like you were able to go to Chicago, even if they lost the first game. Obviously, the Giants won. If you were double dipping as a San Francisco fan, but I mean, the Niners started 3-5 last year. Like half the season, it looked like, oh my God, they're going to be one of the worst teams in the NFC, and then boom, they were a play away from going to the Super Bowl. So a lot of football left. We'll see what happens.
Probably just need Trey Lance to get injured and Jimmy G to come on. I don't know.
Dude, you have no idea how much I feel that way. Once Jimmy G was signed as the backup and he took the pay cut, I was like, okay, my prediction is by week 6 or 7, Jimmy G is the starter. Period. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. Well, this is a Giants podcast. This is a baseball podcast. We'll get off those soapboxes. But I was telling Eric in pre-show that we have definitely reached the part of the season here with 22 games left, and the Giants completely out of the playoff picture. Where, to be honest, their performance on the field in terms of wins and losses doesn't really matter in the big picture. It doesn't. I mean, they could win 22 in a row or lose 22 in a row. And, okay, that's going to make a difference. But if they're not going to make the playoffs and they're not going to, win the toilet bowl. The reality is we're at a position in the season where, we want to see positive contributions by the young kids. We want to see the rotation, kind of solidify themselves in this last 3 weeks. We want to see the bullpen not implode, right? We want to see Gabe Kapler, manage the game in the way we think is probably best, which, of course, half the fan base disagrees with that. So, that said, Eric, they went, we said, look, all we wanted in September, and this is the last podcast we did, we want them to have a winning month, right? We recorded on September 1st. We said, can they have a winning month in September? And so far, they're on the right track, not great, but they're 6-5 in September. But frickin' A, man, they are so streaky. Before the month, of course, they lost 7 in a row. Then they won 4 in a row. Then they lost 5 in a row. And now they're on a current 2-game winning streak. So this is a Jekyll and Hyde team right now, Eric. I don't know which direction they're heading right now. It's hard to tell. I mean, overall down. But what have your impressions been over the last week and a half since we last recorded?
When you're a middle-of-the-road ball club, a mediocre-ish ball club, and certain circumstances work against you and against your favor, they tend to blow against you and steer the course that way, which will happen when you suddenly have the day game in L.A., the first getaway day game in L.A. since like 1970-something or 80-something.
I think it was 80-something,
go to Milwaukee. Yeah, and then you have to go to tip of the cap to Brad Paisley, 1980. And then you go to Milwaukee for 2 against Corbin Burns for the second time this season in his building. And then you have to go to Wrigley the next day for a day game, which makes it even tougher travel. So I think that's really what fueled the losing streak there, was just the extra circumstances surrounding travel. And when you're a bad team, you're gonna get blown off track by stupid things like the schedule and travel and things like that. When you're a good team, you overcome that. And you always talk about, they're a good team, they handled it well. Look at what they did. The Giants did not handle it well. They played like crap in the last game in LA. They played like crap for the entire doubleheader in Milwaukee, and they played like crap in their first game in Chicago. They just looked like a beaten, sluggish, tired ball club. And then Saturday came around and they had a good game. And then last night they also had a good game. So, there were good contributions that came after that. But they really were just reflective of what happens to a mediocre ball club. If the wind blows one way, they blow that way for a little bit. And that's kind of what's happening to them right now.
Yeah, mediocre is definitely a way to put it. And we thought, a good goal would be to get to back to 500. It just doesn't look like that's going to happen. They're officially now in third place, only a half game up on the Diamondbacks. They seem to be swapping third and fourth over the last couple of weeks. They were officially eliminated from NL West contention, which, whatever, that's no surprise. They're 9.5 back of the Padres, and of course Milwaukee's 2 back as well, so they would have to still leap those 2 teams. We know it's all over. We've been saying it for weeks, so that's not an issue right now. But let's look positively to the future, and we got some bad news as well. We can talk about Brandon Belt and others, but let's talk about some of the young kids and some of the trades they made, like this guy Lewis Brinson they got from the Astros. He came up right away and hit 3 bombs in like the first few games. Now, granted, he's not hitting for average right now, but he's shown some flashes of brilliance. And I haven't seen as much as I'd like to of him live, but what have your impressions been of Brinson so far?
I mean, he had a great burst on the scene, catch the wave of a new team, new place, new energy. He came in and hit 2 homers in that game at Dodger Stadium last Monday. And after the game, he's like, I didn't even know the Giants hadn't won at Dodger Stadium in like 8 tries. I didn't even know that they lost 8 straight to the Dodgers. Which is good. You kind of need that fresh mentality to have a day like that.
You just don't know.
And then he led off Right. He led off the next day with a homer on the first pitch of the game. And then every other swing after that, he rolled the ball over because he was trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
And that's it. He thought he could ride that wave, and he still thinks he can ride that wave, and he can't. He kept getting beat on the outside pitch that he's trying to pull that, he just rolls over to the left side. And he did it for the rest of that night in L.A. after that leadoff home run, and pretty much for everything we saw this series. I think he had a base hit last night or Saturday, but other than that, he really hasn't done much. It's nice infusion. It's good to get a look at people. I mean, Lewis Brinson, I know the fan base worries like, oh my God, they're looking at Lewis Brinson now to be a starter for next year. Just because he's in here auditioning doesn't mean he's auditioning for a starter role.
No,
they like versatility. They like to platoon. We know that the Giants like to do that. So they are obviously looking at him for a role for next year. And I think he's got to get his hitting together. But honestly, it looks like he's going to turn into the same kind of scrap heap find that the Giants have had over and over again. He's going to have a couple flashes of brilliance and then flame out after a while.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen. Farhan throws a lot of darts at the board, and only a few of them stick lately.
Yeah, only a few of them stick. And even the ones that do stick don't always stick forever. Looking at you, Mike Yastrzemski.
Right. I'm so I hate just because his name's Yastrzemski. I hate that he's struggling and he didn't just stay consistent for like 5-6 years. Like you don't want to see him losing, because if he has a bad year next year, things could go south for him in his career very fast. Absolutely,
very, very, very quickly. And it just seems like this year is just a protracted length of time of struggling, and maybe this is just who the guy it is. I mean, the one thing that we can say is that we always hear how the league adjusts to the hitters, right? And the hitters always have to adjust back. I think in a microcosm, that may have been what's happening to Brinson, right? He was pulling, those pitches, and they're like, well, he's just swinging out of his bucket here. So, I mean, you look at his swing, it's a powerful swing, but he's back on his back foot yanking out, right? So you pitch him outside, and like you said, he's rolling it over. That's kind of what they're doing.
He's already halfway out of the box, through his swing.
You roll your wrists over.
Wide open. Yeah.
Exactly.
His front shoulder's wide open when he makes contact.
You're getting that weak contact on the end, on the top, and there you go. Yep. And so he's going to have to adjust back. And I'm sure that the hitting coaches are working. I mean, they see this stuff. It's not like fans do and they don't. I'm sure they're talking to him about this stuff, but it's just a matter of execution. And then maybe it's the same thing with Yaz. I couldn't break down his scouting report and all of his weaknesses right now, but that could have something to do with it, And maybe he's just not adjusting back. You think so?
I hate to say it. I do. I really do. I think it's mental. He takes so much of it is him taking pitches he should be hitting and then fouling off pitches he should be handling. And to me, that just feels mental. It just feels like, I don't know if it's because the Giants' approach is sort of a guessing game approach, and then it got into his head, and combined with whatever his approach might have been at the plate. I don't know if they tried to turn him into a different hitter than he is, but he just seems to have a different mental approach at the plate all year long. That's why I think it's mental, because the skills are still there. When he hits certain balls, he'll still drive a ball to a gap. He'll still yank it over the well. He'll still hit it the opposite way, deep. He's got to do more of that, and he hasn't done a lot of that at all this season.
Yeah, Sergio says, lack of confidence perhaps. I mean, it definitely could have something to do with it. I mean, when they interview him, he doesn't seem like it, but, these guys are going to internalize a lot of stuff. They're not going to admit, I have no confidence right now. So, these guys have big egos and
I'm a walking shell of a man.
I need therapy. I need a sports psychologist. They're not going to usually say that publicly. So, Sean Jelly looked good in his little minimal appearances, but certainly in Milwaukee he looked good though for those 5 innings. A big, tall, lanky guy, but I want to see more of him. I definitely want to see more of him. I think he's going to be an exciting guy to come up next year. Again, I only saw I recorded the game and kind of watched a couple of his innings. Any impressions from you?
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope you watched the innings, because I totally keyed on him when I wrote about that game on Giants Chatter, and I don't know why he didn't just start. There was literally no reason for them to put
I don't get that.
Opener in. It made no sense. If he had just started, maybe he could have held them scoreless for the first 5 innings instead of the opener giving up 3 runs.
Yep.
Or whatever it was. It was so mind-blowing, because he was good. He was fooling hitters. They were off balance. He had his fastball is heavy and it just sinks right at the end. And he's got a cutter that's only about 7-8 miles an hour less than that fastball that will break in. And he seems to do pretty good against left-handers too. And he did not get hit too hard. He looked really good. They should give him another look. Alex Wood's on the shelf. Give him another look.
Why not?
You know, they're
yeah,
still
exactly.
Still don't have an off day. I mean, like what happened? Yeah, last night was a bullpen game. I mean, they have an off day Thursday, but there's got to be a time. It's time. Just let's give guys a look. If we've got to skip Alex Cobb's start in the rotation at some point, you know, sorry, Alex.
Yeah.
You know, especially sorry if you have incentives, but sorry, Alex. But like they should give somebody like Sean Jelly a look, because who knows how this rotation is going to look next year. Well, Cobb will be there. Disco is under contract. They're going to try to get back Rodon, I think, and they got Webb, so they're going to have at least an opening. And I don't know if they're going to go out and look for a free agent pitcher at this point, because I think they're going to focus on the hitting side of things. So, you know, why not see what some of these young guys can have? And Kyle Harrison's waiting in the wings in the minor leagues. You give him another year. If he does stuff in Sacramento next year that is what he's been doing, he's ready for the big leagues, because that's the Pacific Coast League, and that would be ridiculous. So knowing Kyle Harrison's there in the background, I think you give him and Sean Jelly, guys like that, a shot. I don't think you can bring Harrison up this year and give him a shot. I mean, maybe. Why the hell not?
I mean, you know maybe why not? But
hurt.
I think they will wait a little bit for him. So. Speaking
the whole
of Carlos
40-man to 28-man changed things. You know what I mean?
It did.
Like we would be seeing, we really would be seeing some more of these prospects if it wasn't. But at least we're getting a chance to see if VR can do something, and he showed he could the other day, or this weekend. You know, at least you have that. But it's a little different now.
Yeah. Speaking of Carlos Rodon, of course he crossed 200 Ks. He's now sitting at 212 strikeouts for the year, and he's still got a few starts left. I mean, this guy's just been dominating. He's got a sub-3 ERA. His whip is just barely over 1. He has definitely been better than the expectations, I think, that the Giants had. Obviously, that's one of the reasons why they put in that minimal innings pitched scenario, because it made the contract a little bit more appealing to Carlos Rodon, of course, because he knew that if he was going to be pitching more than 110 innings, he might have a good year and he could turn that into a bigger contract. And boy, has he ever. I mean, he is going to command a lot of money this offseason. And I think it was still $22 million this year. It wasn't chump change.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, he's going to command, a 3+ year deal, at 25 to 30 plus at this point, I think. And that's the problem for the Giants. Look what the Giants did today, and we can talk about that now. Wilmer Flores, or maybe yesterday, signed a 2-year, $13 million extension with a mutual option for 2025. So he's now signed through 2024, and I think that was a great deal. I mean, I think Wilmer's been fantastic. He's been one of their best players and most reliable. He's very, flexible. He's not the best defender in the world. We all know that, but he's come through in the clutch. He had another walk-off for, this last homestand. But the Giants have hardly anyone signed through the 2024 season. They have Disco and Flores, I believe, are the only two through 2024. Yeah. That's it, So, I mean, Farhan, sorry, I don't have the quote up here, but over this last week, he's been interviewed quite a bit on hey, look, what are the Giants going to do, man? They can't. Clearly, this isn't working this year. This did not work this year. This patchwork of diamond in the roughs, of calling people up and down, maximizing the 40-man roster and all the transactions and DFA and picking up people off the waiver wire and making these little micro trades, that didn't work this year. Clearly, it worked last year, and that was probably an outlier. And he said, it certainly didn't work this year, but of course, he did address the injury bug. And he said the main way to get healthier is to get younger. And he said, we're definitely no holds barred in terms of contract situations. The problem is, Eric, they always seem to be the bridesmaid, right? I mean, they are always, quote, in on guys like Bryce Harper and Giancarlo Stanton and others, and they just never land the big fish. And so with Aaron Judge, of course, the looming big guy in the offseason, not saying the Giants have to get him, but to suggest that the Giants are going to, quote, be in the mix for Aaron Judge tells me, they're going to throw in an offer that's going to be second or third or fourth best. And ultimately the Giants will go, well, we tried. And it's well, at some point, are you going to make that ridiculous offer and overbid everyone else? I just, Farhan slightly, obviously his hands are tied by ownership, but at the same time.
Wow. It's amazing. The Giants won 107 games last year. Everything was sunshine and friggin' roses, and we thought that Gabe and Farhan were the best things since sliced bread. And here you are doubting that they can get stuff done as a front office, primarily not because of them, because you're a Giants fan at heart. And we have been, the bridesmaid, like you said, it doesn't matter what the regime is that we've been talking about. So I think Aaron Judge is very interesting. Like, Kirkjian, Rosenthal, they're all writing articles about how Judge is a perfect fit for the Giants right now. It's like, why are you guys doing this?
Yeah.
Like, let it be. Like, the Yankees still got crap to deal with. Let's worry about it later. Let Judge finish his historic season. Like, I totally hope he hits 62 home runs. I really do. Get past Maris. It's not the home run record, 73, blah. But, I'd love to see him in a Giants uniform. But, I get it. You've been burned so many times. We've been burned so many times. I don't know. I'll be the optimist. I am so optimistic about it. I really am. I think there is a reason. I think there's a buzz for some reason in the industry behind the scenes that Judge wants to come play in San Francisco, wants to build a new legacy for himself. And I think it's possible. And I think it could be like when Barry came home. It's not the same. I mean, this isn't Willie Mays' godson that we're talking about here, the son of a major leaguer. It's Aaron Judge, who still is a great player. But, the question always comes down to, like you said, it's ownership. And will ownership actually okay something past an initial face value offer? And who knows if they will. And that's what this offseason is going to be huge. It's going to be absolutely huge for the Giants. And that's why I think they'll go after, position players. I just looked at their baseball reference page. The top 4 guys are all the starting pitchers. It's Rodon, Webb, Cobb, and then Junis in WAR. So when you've got your 4 best players on the team are all the starting pitchers in WAR, the whole lineup is not producing at all. So you can't just go out and get Judge. You got to build around him. And signing Wilmer Flores for 2 years, showing that he's a veteran that wants to stay veteran leadership with this organization, also says something. And I think that's why the move got made when it got made. I think the Giants want to signal to other players out there, look at what Wilmer, he had we went through a great year, we went through a down year, he still wants to be here and wants to be a part of this. Excuse me, don't you want to come here and be a part of this?
Right.
It could be attractive for free agents. It really could. It was another team-friendly deal, $6.5 million a year for 2 years for Wilmer. I mean, that's really nice. And I think with Rodon, it's a possibility that they might pay him. I think they learned their lesson on Gausman. I think that Gausman.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I think he has shown that if he continues this for just 2 more years after this, that he would have been worth anything he was commanding contract-wise, and that they could be in a position with Gausman, Rodon, and Webb at the top of the rotation right now. That would be just phenomenal. What a 3-headed monster.
Could you imagine if they had Gausman and Rodon this year? Now, granted, I don't think it would have made a difference in their playoff situation because they have a good starting rotation. It would have been a little bit better. But that's the problem, is that it's the rest of the roster, right? It's the offense, it's the defense, it's the injuries, right? So, I mean, it's true. It would have been nice to have, but it might have helped them with 3 or 4 wins or something like that, and that's about it. Not enough to make a difference. I think Millie agrees with me. Why didn't they sign Kevin Gausman? But just to review, Kevin Gausman, obviously with the Blue Jays, 12-9 this year, 3.31 ERA, and a WHIP of a 1.25 out there in the American League. So pretty damn good season. Obviously, he's an all-star as well.
Where Aaron Judge resides. I mean, he's not even on Judge's team. Come on.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But you're right. He really would have barely pushed the needle.
No, but, the Giants have always had strong starting pitching, and they did again this year, which has been great. I mean, that's a great thing to have, but Rodon is such a key to it. Him and Webb are just like fighting for that little ERA title on the team. But Rodon is just filthy. He's just filthy. His strikeout rate is so high right now, and he's just the guy you want on the mound like half the time. I'm not saying I don't want Webb, but Webb has fewer strikeouts than innings pitched, right? Rodon is way up, right? He's way over the top.
Is it like 1.5?
Yeah, it's like a 1.5-ish, close to it.
Because he's throwing 5 innings a night, but he's still striking out 10. He has 10 games this year, I think it is, with 10-plus Ks, a Giants record.
Yep.
And he's only going 5-6 innings a night. He's putting up these 12 and 14 strikeout performances. It's kind of ridiculous what he does. It shows. I gotta say, it makes you hope that Farhan and Gabe and everybody, and Scott Harris, we always forget about him. I really hope that they are learning things this year, because of the way things went last year and how things went completely different this year. And you can't just keep signing the bottom of the heap, 27th man on the roster type player.
Yeah.
You need to start signing some 1, 2, 3 slot on the roster type players. And I really hope they learn their lesson to go out. That's the most telling thing with anything of this going forward. If they go out and they just spend cheaply, or if they decide, like, if they get rid of Tommy LaStella, that'll be another thing that tells me that this team is ready to move forward and try something different.
That's a really good point, because Tommy LaStella is under contract next year, but he's at the point now where he's completely and utterly expendable. Eat that money, let him go, because he's just done nothing for the Giants for 2 years, and it's been really frustrating. And can you imagine, like, you know, I was thinking about Freddie Freeman, because he was just named NL Player of the Week for the 3rd time this year, hitting .585 with 4 bombs,
so good.
And like 8 or 9 RBI. The funny thing is, he's such a nice guy in all of his interviews. By all accounts, he's just a really stand-up human being. He has one of the ugliest mechanical swings that I can look at. Like, it's just an ugly-ass swing, but he's so good. He's so good. And could you imagine, because there was a little bit of chatter about trying to go after him this past offseason, because it was Brandon Belt's last year under contract, or at least, you know, the qualifying offer year. And boy, to look in hindsight to see like how much of a hole they had at first base this year, and the fact that Belt is not going to be re-signed by the Giants next year. I mean, I could bet on that. That would have been something if they could have gotten him this year. That would have plugged just a massive hole. But you know, that's another issue to have.
The Giants don't have a Trey Turner to hit in front of him.
No,
to let him keep knocking around the bases. I mean, Freddie against the Giants last week. Freddie, it looked like it was weird when he didn't get a hit. He knew where to place the ball in every pitch. He knew how to guide the out, and I think that's part of why his swing's a little ugly, is because it's almost disjointed, because he recognizes where the pitch is and then makes his body go in the direction to go with the pitch. And I think that's kind of why it is, because when he pulls one, it's a pretty smooth swing. But when he hits one the opposite way, I totally get what you mean. There's a herky-jerky motion to his swing there.
Yeah, it's not a thing of beauty, but God dang it, he's so good. But it'll be interesting, because, you know, they've had guys coming up this year like David VR. I might as well just get into it. He's on the Who's Hot list. You know, 8 games, 4 bombs, 7 RBIs, hitting .385. So he's shown those flashes of brilliance. I mean, his overall batting average is still like .219. But the point is, he's showing those signs. He's a guy they're going to take a look at. Logan Webb, of course, they want to get him under contract. Doval, I mean, for all the bumps in the road he had, you know, He's 4 for 4 in saves the past week and a half, with no earned runs overall for the year. He's 22 of 25 in save opportunities, a sub-3 ERA, and a lot of electric stuff. No reason to poo-poo that. Jock Peterson, here's another guy, right? Like, 1-year contract. And I don't know. I mean, he's a Bay Area kid, but from Palo Alto. In the last 15 games, 4 home runs, 15 RBI, hitting .432. So he's coming around. I think he's hitting .269 on the year now. So he's really upped his game after having that massive slump after the All-Star break, or really since June. He's a guy they could really use again next year. I do want to see him play more often, even against lefties, but he kind of accepted that platooning. He had a conversation with Farhan in the offseason, and he's willing to do it. You know, these are guys that the Giants definitely could use next year. Some exciting young talent. Obviously, we're going to be looking for Kyle Harrison and others. There's been a couple of the prospects. This isn't the prospect show. We'll get into it probably in the offseason. You know, some guy from San Jose, I forget his name, is a third baseman who's zoomed up to Double-A already.
Crap, I know exactly who you're talking about,
yeah.
too. They talk about him in my chat all the time.
So he's been looking really good. A lot of power, really good glove. And they even have Evan Longoria, who, you know, he's been injury-riddled. We understand this, but he's expressed an interest to play next year, and he wants to play for the Giants. And so the Giants could buy him out for $5 million and say goodbye to him, or they could put that $5 million back into a contract, and you know that the guy's going to sign because, you know, he, again, veteran leadership. And when he's active, he had the best run production basically of anyone not named Buster Posey and Brandon Belt. And, of course, Buster's no longer with the team. So he's effective when he's healthy. He's still got good defense, even though he's 5 years removed from his last Gold Glove. there are definitely a lot of things the Giants are going to look at down the stretch here, and I think these are the guys we got to keep our eyes on to see what ownership and Farhan are going to target, because they almost have a blank checkbook in terms of money committed, right? Like I just said, they have Flores now committed through 2024, and Disco, which he got hurt obviously for this entire year. So, I mean, they got a wide open checkbook, coming up here in the next few years, and might as well cash those in right now, because the Giants are down to 13th or 14th in payroll. We're talking San Francisco, a preeminent historic franchise who's always been in the top 5 to 10 at least, but certainly top 5 of payroll. This is no time for dicking around anymore. These guys are making money hand over fist.
Some of that money you made in the 2010s when they won 3 titles.
3 titles, bringing
money.
all that in,
all
right?
You gotta do.
All the TV money, and now they got that Mission Rock project, which is about, it's just, that's going to be such a huge real estate boon for those guys, because the Giants are, the funders for that. I mean, they're printing money right now. Please, Giants, please, infuse it into the team. And look, they know that results produce winning, produce championships, produce money. I think they're still riding that wave. I think it's just like, how much longer can we squeeze blood out of this world championship stone?
That's why I say it's really up to whether or not the front office and Gabe shows us that they can adjust now, because last year was one thing, this year was another thing, so everything's on the table now. You've seen everything, and the fans are not going to take riding the wave anymore. They've expressed that this year.
Yeah,
I think the fans have really shown that, all right, we get it. We had a great run back in the early 2010s, 2012, 2014. It was fun. It was wonderful. I can't wait till Hunter Pence goes on the wall. That's great. I love it. But that doesn't do anything for me as a fan in 2023. It doesn't do jack. It just doesn't. I mean, we'll be 9 years removed from the last Giants title. 9 years is not a short time, but it's not a long time either. But it is time to be competing in that sense again. And that's why we got to see, are they willing to learn? I don't want to say compromise, because it might not be a compromise. For all we know, this was their plan all along. Just be cheap, and then boom, come out like gangbusters this offseason. I mean, it's happened before, we just might not have expected it. So maybe that's what they have in their sleeve. I have no idea at this point. But there's guys like Duvall. I love how Duvall, when he's set up to succeed, he's been succeeding. Logan Webb is the same thing when he's set up to succeed. Jock, great $6 million investment.
My God.
Bring him back, maybe. Maybe bring him back. Maybe he'll be $8 million next year. Maybe he'll be $7 million. If he wants to stay around, that's another thing. And Wilmer is probably, to me, signals the end of Belt. I think that they're going to exercise the option on Longo, and I think the fact that they re-signed Wilmer shows that they're going to play him at first base quite a bit. And even though Belt was platooning a bit this year, it kind of signals the end for Belt. It kind of shows that they're just going to go another direction with first base. I don't know why, but to me that kind of feels like that moment where they're like, okay, we need to start covering our butt at this position because we think Belt's gone. So I think that's kind of what they do there. Longo, I don't know did you watch the inning on Sunday Night Baseball when he was on microphone and talking to the guys? It was fascinating last night.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he said it on the ESPN broadcast. Yeah, I was just talking to my agent today, and I told him if the Giants came and said they want to exercise the option, let's go, let's do it. I want to play another year with them.
I just read about it.
I'd be totally on board. I'd be totally on board with him coming back. When he's healthy, he's productive, and he'll still be productive. He's a DH type if his fielding goes down, because he still has a smooth swing.
Yeah, no, he does. All right, so before we get into the rule changes, I just want to ask you one more thing. So with 22 games left, what are the top 3 things you'd like to see? I'm springing this on Eric. They're not in the show notes.
Yeah, that's all right. Joey Bart, number one, just see that his progress continues. It's been a pretty good sign since he's come back from the concussion. I don't have the exact numbers, but he hasn't looked bad. So I'd want to say that. At 500, 22 games, are you sure? I thought it was 25 games. Maybe I did my math wrong. Because I was going to say they could go 16-9 and finish over 500 because they're 6 or 7 games under.
Yeah, I mean, there's always possible.
I would shoot for that.
22 to 25 games left, whatever it is.
Yeah, I would shoot for that. No, I would. I would shoot for that if I could. I'm looking for that. I'm looking to see if the Giants still play for Gabe. And, I already got questions as to whether or not they quit on Gabe during the season. So we kind of got to see if they still play for Gabe. And the dugout seems like it's been fun. Even though they had some problems with LA and Milwaukee, it seemed like the dugout vibe's been pretty good. The dugout vibe seemed pretty good in Chicago. Like I said, Longo was on camera yesterday talking about stuff. And then I want to see things like Longo finish strong, Tyro finish strong, Wilmer finish strong, guys that we think will be around. I want to see them finish strong. Jock Peterson finish strong. Mike Yastrzemski, I'd love to see him get his ass in gear, but I'm not asking for it.
Yeah, not at this point.
No, I'm just really not. Guys that we know we can count on for next year, I want to see them finish strong, at least give us that good feeling going into next year. Because, if Longo suddenly goes on an 0-for-24 slump, then we're going to be talking about retirement for him. So that's all.
Us fickle fans.
Yeah, it's true though. That's how quickly things turn. The Giants season, we had like 2 or 3 moments where it went from this is possible to, no, they're done. They're done.
Yeah, we kept hoping. It's like that story. You kept turning the page, going, okay, it's gonna happen. Oh wait, no, okay, the next page, and it just never happened. It just never happened.
Sisyphus pushing the rock. Yep.
There you go. The Giants are 67-73, so that's 140 games. So it is 22 left.
Damn.
22
oh man,
left.
my math was off.
No worries.
There's no way they're getting to 500. Yeah. Oh my God. So they'd have to go. What was that? 22 games. 11-11 is even.
Yeah, they're 6 games under, so they got to go 14-8.
13-7 to even up. 14-8 to finish over 500. It's possible. I looked at the schedule. They have 1 road trip left. It goes to Colorado
14-8 to finish 500, because that would put them at 81-81. Yeah, 14-8.
Right.
It's actually 15-7 to be above 500. Ouch.
Oh, okay, I hear you. It's possible to possibly reach 500. That would be my third goal. It really would, because you have a very favorable schedule the rest of the way. You got a long homestand here.
Not this week. 3 against the Dodgers and 3 against the Braves, right? Ouch.
I know, but they're at their home park.
I know.
It's going to count for something against the Dodgers in September. Plus and then they go to Colorado, Arizona, and then they face San Diego, I think, in Arizona, and then San Diego again. So, they're in comfortable surroundings the rest of the way. And after this Brave series, they're playing teams that they know really, really well. So, I'm not saying it's possible, and I just at least shoot for it. Try to make it a goal. Until you've lost that 8th, 9th game, at least try to make it a goal. That would be what I look for at the end,
Yeah.
Just to see as a team that they're still giving a crap, because that doubleheader in Milwaukee seemed like a dead team walking. It was so hard to watch some of that doubleheader. It was like the fork in the Giants for the whole season in that moment. So as long as they don't play like that, I'll be happy. So that'd be what I'm looking. So what are your 3 things then?
Yeah, especially since they were, in a sense, I know they were out of it anyway, but at least, show something against one of the teams you're chasing, right? It's Milwaukee anyway.
Show up, get more than 6 or 7 hits in 18 innings.
Unfortunately, with the roster only expanded to 28, we talked about this last time. You can't see as many kids as you'd like to. But through as many transactions as possible, I'd love to see as many kids as possible. I certainly would like to see a Jelly back up just to get a few more innings under his belt. Like I said earlier, I want to see the starting rotation just even keel, do well the last 22 games, so there's no warning signs for that, so they can kind of go into 23 with some stability in their performance, regardless if they sign Rodon or not. And then, I want to see some of the, it's kind of a combined thing, but you brought up Joey Bart. He's number 1. But also Longoria turn 3 weeks of performance into a contract extension, or to pick up that option, for the Giants. And honestly, just I hope the guys just go out there having fun, trying to play well. Yes. That's what I want to see. Effort. How do you characterize effort? Not looking dead on the field, not mailing it in, not look like you're just going to check the mailbox. Like, seriously, they're playing the freaking Braves for 3, okay? They're the defending world champs. Play them like you're the defending world champs, right? Then the Dodgers come into the town. You got your asses kicked by them this year. They got your asses kicked by them this year. The Giants lost 8 of 9 in L.A. The Giants have lost 4 in a row at Oracle to them, right? So it's like, you guys have laid down to the Dodgers. Yeah, they're the best team in the league. I get it. But even playing the best team in the league, you should win freaking 2 out of 5, 4 out of 9. I mean, come on. Don't be losing 90% of the game. So I want to see some fight this week. I want to see them go 4-2 against these two really good teams. That's a lot to ask. I understand that. But that'll at least show us a little bit of a sign, because Atlanta is in the middle of a race trying to fend off and battle with the Mets for the New York, or the National League East, of course. They're going back and forth. The Dodgers, by the way, they celebrated a little too early last night. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
So they celebrated clinching a playoff spot, because they haven't clinched the West yet, obviously, but clinching a playoff spot, and they celebrated. Granted, it wasn't a major celebration, but it was still a celebration nonetheless. And Major League Baseball came out and said, "Ooh, guys, sorry, we made a mistake on the playoff tie-breaking scenarios and all that crap.
Oh my God.
So you actually need to win. Yeah, you actually need to win one more game, or have, I can't remember what team it was, has to lose one more game.
Right away.
I think it was Milwaukee or something. Anyway,
God.
it was so funny. It was like, yes. Yeah.
The first time a team goes to clinch a playoff berth under the new playoff format, it has already been screwed up in Major League Baseball. That is hysterical. That is so funny. That really is. Because we're not used to all these tiebreakers. Usually they settle it on the field.
Yep.
It's the first time we're dealing with these tiebreakers that are like a list of like 10 things long. And oh my God, that's hysterical.
I want to know who at Major League Baseball offices. No, it's not the Dodgers' fault. I want to know who at Major League headquarters was in charge of the math and all the tiebreaker scenarios and published it and said, "Yep, the Dodgers' magic number is 1," and they won. And you're like, "Yay, we won! We clinched a playoff spot." And they're like, "Oh, we forgot to carry the 2. Shit, sorry guys."
There was a year in pro football. I watched
Love
a
it.
YouTube video about it. There was a year in pro football where the Chiefs thought they had clinched a playoff berth by winning. I think it was the Chiefs, might have been the Steelers, by winning a game. Is back in the '80s. By winning a game in the second to last week of the season, they thought they clinched a playoff berth. They flew home. They celebrated. They were happy. The next day, the NFL office contacted them and said, actually, because this one team beat this other team, you guys haven't clinched anything yet. And they had to go out and still win next week, and they didn't, and they lost.
Yeah, so here
it's just crazy that kind of stuff can happen.
I gotta put on my glasses for this. Here's the Dodgers celebrated inevitable postseason berth prematurely. They toted official MLB licensed playoff hats and held a champagne toast. Their official account retweeted the historic news. Veteran Justin Turner reflected on his legacy. The team held up a photo shoot after playing dress up, donning Wolf of Wall Street, Magic Mike, and Top Gun inspired costumes. By the way, you do have to check out the picture of them wearing all those costumes.
Oh, yeah, now I gotta go look for this.
It's pretty funny. On Sunday, they celebrated yet another postseason berth, extending a dynastic run atop the National League. The only problem? They hadn't yet officially punched their ticket. MLB announced that a clerical error involving tiebreakers that determined Los Angeles' clinching scenarios meant that the Dodgers popped bottles at least one day too early. LA can clinch a playoff spot on Monday with a win against the Diamondbacks or a Milwaukee Brewers loss. So there you go.
Oh my God, you nailed the teams. That's hysterical.
So anyway, that was
a clerical error. That's what
a clerical
for everything from now on. It's just a
George, you messed it up. All right, so let's get into a little non-Giants news, but certainly baseball news, and kind of rocked the baseball world a couple of days ago. The Committee for Rules and Fair Competition, whatever the hell they want to call it, it's made up of coaches or ex-coaches and players and one umpire, apparently. I don't know. Whoever decides all this crap decided on 3 major rule changes, which we knew were very possible coming up in 2023. Number 1, we're going to have a pitch clock next year. It's going to be 20 seconds when someone is on base, and it's going to be 15 seconds when the bases are empty. Pitchers will be permitted to disengage from the rubber twice per plate appearance without penalty, resetting the clock each time. Subsequent disengagements will result in a balk unless an out is recorded on a runner. So that's kind of crazy. Hitters will be required to be in the batter's box and alert to the pitcher with at least 8 seconds remaining on the clock. Hitters will also receive 1 timeout per plate appearance. That's it. Okay, we'll go into these one by one. Number 2, no shift. 2 players on each side of second, and their feet have to be on the infield dirt at the beginning of the pitch. And then number 3, bases are going to be bigger. They're going to increase from 15 inches on each side to 18 inches on each side. And this now decreases the base-to-base distance by 4.5 inches, which of course is less than 1% of the ultimate total distance. So that's going to have a very modest impact on stolen base success and like people laying down bunts down the line and stuff like that. But before we get into all the nitty gritty, I will say some of the stats they have to back up some of the reasons for these rule changes. I'm not saying I agree with these. I'm just saying these are their justifications. Okay. So bases, they did it. They tested all these things in the minors, right? Base-related injuries decreased by 13.5% with bigger bases, and that's the main reason they want to do this. It tested apparently in 8,000 minor league games. Compared to 2021, the pitch timer has reduced the average 9-inning game in the minor leagues by 26 minutes, from 3 hours and 4 minutes to 2 hours and 38. Major league games this season were averaging 3 hours and 7. And then there's interesting quotes, like Theo Epstein, who was an MLB consultant, said, quote, "No one would have asked the league to hit closer to 240 than 265. Nobody would have asked for a league strikeout rate higher than Bob Gibson's career strikeout rate." I thought that was an interesting comparison as well.
It's not wrong.
Yeah. And then nobody would have asked for fans to have to wait for more than 4 minutes for balls to be put into play. And nobody would have asked for generational lows in stolen bases, triples, and doubles, fans' favorite plays. So, what say you, Eric Nathanson? What do you think about these rule changes?
Well, I don't mind the pitch clock. I really don't. I think pitchers will just get used to it. Yeah, I mean, it sucks. It's a change in rules. Oh, my God, baseball, shake my fist. But I think that just like anything else, they'll just get used to it.
Yeah.
I think the policing, the disengagement thing, that'll be interesting. But I think a natural flow will be developed by the pitchers and the umpires at that point. Same with hitters in the box, things like that. To me, the one that stands out is the shift. The two players on each side of second, and feet have to be on the infield dirt. And, it's funny because my mind immediately flashes to like back in the day on the AstroTurf fields. Used to have that white line that pretended to be the end of the infield. So like in Tampa, is there a white line to where they have to be in at that time? I don't mind it. It's going to create more action. It's going to create more base hits. Just like Theo was saying, the league you don't want the league hitting 240. You want the league hitting 270. You don't want the pitchers to have Bob Gibson-like numbers, and you don't. It's just not fun. It's boring. It's boring baseball. So anything that makes baseball a little more exciting, I'm all for that. And so, the more I think about this shift rule, I'm so on board. I love it. I think it's going to create action. I think there's going to be a lot more going on. I think we're going to see stolen bases tick up because of the base size thing. I think that teams are going to be daring and test it out on their own and see what happens. And if they find that the data shows them that they do have an advantage, they're going to go for it. And between the pitch clock, so the pitcher doesn't have as much time to make a decision. So, maybe some of these guys at first aren't going to be as quick on their feet. And so they might not make the best decision in the small amount of time. And then somebody puts the ball in play. But where he puts the ball in play used to be fielded by the guy standing in short right field. But now it's not because that guy's not on the infield. Boom. Yeah. It just created a base hit. It just created more action. You just created more types of things. I don't mind if players are on each side of second base. That part I don't really care about. But keeping them on the infield, that to me is just really what's going to create action. Because they were putting guys in short right field for Barry Bonds 25 years ago, 30 years ago.
Yep. I think what was interesting is that, the shift has been around forever. They did do the shift in
Ted
the 40s.
Williams.
Exactly, Ted Williams. They did do the shift, but it was sparing, right? It didn't happen all the time. Certainly not with the frequency now. You just have so many numbers, flying around now. And so that's what, teams are doing. And it is effective. It's right there. The proof is in the pudding with the league-wide batting average down and the frequency of outs made in traditional base hit spots. So it's interesting because for me, I'm more pragmatic about it. My initial gut reaction last year when all this was kind of coming up was like, hell no. Because like a lot of baseball, I don't consider myself a hardcore purist, but I lean purist, right? I lean purist. So obviously I was against the DH in the National League, even though, yes, that would increase offense and all that stuff like that. Because I like the strategy. I like the double switches. I like all these other things. We've been through this. The reason I love baseball so much is because it's literally a timeless game, right? There's no clock. There's no clock on it.
Yeah.
And now we've instituted a clock, not for the whole game, just for pitch count or pitch clock. That's one thing. As far as the shift is concerned, it's just that I don't like it when rules change, because you see rule changes in the other three major sports every year. Pass interference, zone defense, right? Offsides, all of these things change constantly to the point where you look up the rules from 30 years ago in football, totally different. It's evolved so much. You look at real changes in baseball, and it's almost the same. It's almost identical. So I like that continuity. So that's why I don't like changing these rules. That said, teams are using the shift at a ridiculous rate now, where they never did 50 years ago, 30 years ago, hell, even 10 years ago. Analytics has taken over the game. And so I think that it was never intended to put players in a video game exactly where you think the best odds are of that defense working. And I don't mind outs being made where they normally wouldn't have been made, because I think that's kudos to the defense. That's kudos to the data guys. That's kudos to the coaching.
Absolutely.
So that's why I like it. I like the strategy when it works. And if it doesn't work, you go, ha, it didn't work that time. They bunted on your ass, or they slapped it the opposite way, or whatever it is, right? So I like that give and take, the cat and mouse game, even though most of the time the shift works. It doesn't always work. So for me, taking that away, I don't like. I don't personally. Again, if it's going to promote the growth of the game, if it's going to promote people coming back to the stadiums and generating more revenue and more TV contracts, and it's better for the health of the game, I get it. I just don't like it from a purist standpoint. I really don't. As far as the pitch clock, again, that one doesn't affect me as much, because whether a pitcher takes 20 seconds to throw a ball or 25 seconds to throw a ball, I don't care. Right? The players are just going to have to get over it. So, you're going to have to adapt. There's going to be some adjusting to it, and, no stepping out of the box and readjusting your batting gloves 18 times, right? There's going to be none of that. And I'm fine with that, because that's kind of annoying. I agree. And then, the bases that are bigger, that's going to have such a minimal impact on the actual game itself. But if it actually does reduce injuries in terms of, you're not going to be stepping on first baseman's feet as much. You're not going to be getting spiked as much. You're not going to be, having a spike land on your finger as much. All these things, I guess I'm for that. I mean, and honestly, if stolen bases increased 5%, I think that's good for the game.
Yeah, so. I totally agree. I mean, the 80s were a lot of fun. I mean, we're really going to find out if 3 inches can make a big difference here.
I'm not going to comment on that. Awkward pause.
Anyway,
moving on.
Manscaped.
Yeah, Manscaped. Go to Manscaped. You'll get an extra 3 inches. Wait, no, they didn't say that. They didn't say that.
Well, I mean, it'll look like it will look.
It'll look like it,
though.
Especially if you have that forest down there.
Manscaped.
Exactly.
I'm wearing my Manscaped shirt right now. It's just funny. Oh.
Yeah, remember, you get 20% off if you put Manscaped TortureCast into your Manscaped order. TortureCast is the key. Anywho,
I mean,
this will be interesting.
That's the thing. The one thing when it comes back, it's a level of acceptance across the board. We all need to have a level of acceptance that things are going to change. You can't hang Rob Manfred in effigy just because he's trying to grow the game. Everybody likes offense in every sport. What is this sport lacking right now? It's offense.
Yeah.
The defense has adjusted so far one direction that now the offense needs to swing back around. And as we know, things are cyclical. So I actually expect, us to see a difference over the next few years. I do hope that we see a difference and that some of these rule changes do lead to more offense and more fun. Because, I mean, that's what people come for. They want to see dingers. They want to see scoring. They want to see the ball in play. They want to see action. We appreciate great pitching performances, but when 3 different times a week you're hearing about, well, so-and-so is going to no-hitter in the bottom of the 5th inning, I mean, it gets old after a while. Yeah. So I think fans, they enjoy offense more. They enjoy seeing action more, and I'm with them on that. I can appreciate a great pitching matchup and a great pitching performance, but I don't need to see it every night. I don't need a 2-1, 3-4, 3-2 game every single night. So that's why I'm with you. Like, I do like the promotion aspect of baseball. They're trying. They are trying. And, I mean, you can't ask them to do much more. I don't mind. These are not gigantic rule changes. They didn't change a home run from 1 run to 4 runs. They didn't, you know what I mean? They didn't give a half a run away.
They didn't lower the mound, right? Or push it back.
This isn't that kind of stuff. They didn't make the bases 93 feet all of a sudden. These aren't gigantic changes. These are all little things we can live with that we probably won't even notice. I mean, it's my perfect example right now is nobody notices that the Giants have a DH. Nobody notices that Logan Webb doesn't hit or Carlos Rodon. Nobody notices anymore. Nobody cares. Yeah. Nobody has any clue that the Giants have a DH or
guys like me notice, but that's such a minority. So whatever.
Yeah.
Move on, old guy on the lawn.
But that inkling when you're watching a game and you're like, shouldn't the pitcher spot be coming up? That inkling is kind of drifting out of your head now. It's just not a part of the strategy anymore.
Yeah, I think I still need another year under my belt because I still think of that. Even when I cover the game, the last game I covered with Willie a couple of weeks ago, I actually actively thought, all right, so who are they going to pinch hit for Rodon? Oh, crap, right, duh, what am I saying? I literally thought that out loud. Yeah, Sergio, one of our listeners here, brings up a shorter game will mean less advertising time for the league. Manfred thought of that already? Well, yeah, in terms of the length of the game. But I will say that the commercial breaks, the commercial breaks are longer than if you just played the game naturally, especially during the playoffs. Of course, during playoffs, people aren't caring as much about the length of the game. But I would love to see them, instead of all this stuff or in combination with this stuff, say, okay, now the inning break, instead of 2 minutes and 20 seconds or whatever it is right now, make it a minute and a half, get your warm-ups in and let's go. That'll trim too. That'll trim a lot. That'll trim 10 plus minutes.
Yeah, but they won't do that. That's where my level of acceptance, you know what I mean? That's where it kind of comes in. Like, fine, I get it. Baseball's not going to shave 15 seconds off each commercial break. They're not going to do it. That would absolutely be something to speed up the game, and you can't hold baseball accountable for that. We just can't. We literally can't. Our hands are tied there.
Okay, and then to all of the internet trolls out there, well, I shouldn't say trolls, just some of the fans that are very angry about the banning the shift rule, the ones who state, just learn to hit the other way, shut up. Just shut up. They're trying to hit
way, you'd be there.
They're trying to hit 100-mile-an-hour fastballs. Believe me, 700-plus players in the league, people and coaches who've been playing in this game for more than 50 years, and they don't think about that? Of course they have. The reason is it's hard to do, and they still are getting success. They would rather drive the ball into the gap or over the fence than every time they shift, try to bump the ball or slap it the other way. The numbers show it. The numbers prove it. Don't say that. Don't say just learn to hit the other way. That is such a guy on the lawn thing to say. I'm sorry. I hate that response.
It is.
It pisses me off. If
it were so simple, we'd all be doing it. We'd all be playing Major League Baseball.
This whole thing of like, just learn to hit the other. Oh yeah, these guys have been playing their entire lives and they don't know how to hit the other way. That's not the reason. The reason is because overall they still have better success, especially the power hitters, driving for power than trying to hit the other way. Because guess what? If they try to hit the other way, they're also not going to be successful most of the time. Most of the time, they're going to mistime it, pop up, ground out weakly, blah, blah, blah. So just this whole, anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. Ticks me off. Yeah, you go up there and just 100-mile-an-hour fastball. Right? You know what? Instead of pulling it, trying to hit it over the fence with launch angle, I'm just going to slap it the other way because I can do that 100% of the time, no problem.
Right, against Camilo Duvall, 101 on the black. Give me a break.
Yeah, I like the other day, last week, there was a great meme of Shohei Ohtani who saw a 100-mile-an-hour sinker. 100-mile-an-hour sinker. And he kind of looked and he did the whole wow. Like he was like, huh. And by the way, next start, he busted out a sinker. He never thrown it.
That's amazing.
That dude, I'm sorry. I don't care about Aaron Judge's MVP type season and the fact that the Angels suck. That dude is doing things that no one else can do. It's unbelievable. It's true. Absolutely unbelievable.
Judge is still going to get the MVP. We'll talk about that later on in the season.
Exactly.
But I'm with you. Yeah, Ohtani's at a different level. It just blows your mind that the Angels suck so bad. I hope he and Trout can get the hell out of there. Anyway, this is still a Giants podcast. Go Bears.
Go. Shut up. Dub Bears. Dub Bears suck. They're only gonna win 5 or 6 games this year.
No, my friends, you don't understand. There's a storm coming off of Lake Michigan and the city of Chicago. The Bears are going to take the NFL by storm this year. They're going to be the team flying out of the NFC North into the playoffs. You heard it here first. Coach Flus is going to get us there. The Bears.
Dub Bears. All right. Yeah, you go with your 6-win season. We'll see how that turns out.
It's probably true.
All right. Well, that'll do it for episode 263 of the Torture Cast. You can find this podcast wherever you find your podcast. We're on Apple, Spotify, all the major players. You can follow us at TortureCast on Twitter or individually at ChadK21, at 2OutHits with the number 2 for Eric, or at Willie Dills. Someone was working on his poll today. Sorry. Electrical work was being done on the power poles out, so he couldn't join us today. You could also email us at torturecast@gmail.com if you have any information, one-liners, segments, whatever you want to do. Go send that in. Like us on Facebook. Of course, we stream this. We try to stream this every week at facebook.com/torturecast, and we post everything that we publish on torturecast.com. And, of course, Eric has been very active over on Giants Chatter, which is a wonderful Facebook group as well, if you want to say anything about that.
No, Giants Chatter over on Facebook, game recaps. You know, we still do try to do live streams, but life got in the way this year. If the Giants were better, we would have kept up better, honestly. I mean, we all know that. We're fans. So we're going to try to do better for next season. Sorry about that. Last time I was on, I teased some podcast I was going to be on, but that guy totally ghosted me, so screw him.
Oh, I was wondering. I hadn't heard anything. I was like, did I miss it?
The guy's like, okay, we'll set up a time tomorrow morning, and then all day long, I never heard from him. Next day, never heard from him. Next day, never heard from him. So
what are you going to do?
Screw that guy. Yep, what are you going to do? That's not how you host a podcast, so, you know.
Not generally.
No, it really isn't. So, you know, I'll let that happen. So, yeah, so just Giants Chatter. You know, go have fun over there. Be a fan. Our game threads are lacking, so please come on over and type some things in when you watch Giants games. Giants Braves tonight should be fun. I don't even know who's pitching. Junis?
I think so, but I'm not 100% sure.
I have
That's
no
a good
idea.
Thing. I'll be out on a
We should know these things.
I know we should know these things, but this was kind of thrown together at the last second. Just to be clear with our listeners, we were actually not going to record this week. I originally was leaving today on a dive trip for work. We got delayed a day. It's Cobb today, tonight. I was delayed a day, so we were able to record this afternoon instead of at noon because Eric also was predisposed with some stuff today. But I'm glad we were able to do this. See, we were committed. We originally weren't going to even record, and we said, you know what? We got to do this. We got to talk about all this crap, the rule changes, about the Giants' mediocrity, because we are fans, and we still want to talk about it. It helps us. I think misery loves company sometimes, so we're here for your misery as well.
But we were here in 2019, so we'll be.
Yes, hey, we've been here every year since 2011, and a lot of those seasons were not good, guys, and we were still doing it then, so... All right, well, that'll do it for 263. We will be back, unless something comes up, for episode 264 next Monday, streaming around noon on Facebook. Until then, have a great week. Let's go, Giants. Let's get those young kids up there, and let's see what happens. Until next Monday, I'll
Bears.
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the Torture Cast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at torturecast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.